Hey there, and welcome to Tales by June, where hearts break, heal, and sometimes seek revenge. Let's begin today's story.
Hey, before we begin, let me know where you're watching from. I love seeing how far these stories travel. And if you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.
Heartbreak doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it waits. And sometimes it greets you at your own front door. I didn't plan to come home early that day. I wasn't supposed to be anywhere near that house until at least 7. My boss let me leave work early because a meeting was canceled, and I remember feeling grateful for the extra time. I thought I'd use it to surprise him, cook his favorite dinner, light a candle or two, do something sweet, something a wife does when she's in love. I had no idea the surprise waiting for me was nothing I could have prepared for. I wore the ring. I carried his name, but he carried someone else in his arms. Our home sat on a quiet street, the kind where you could hear children playing in the distance and dogs barking a few houses down. When I pulled into the driveway, everything looked normal. Too normal. His car was parked in its usual place, even though he told me he had a late shift. I didn't think anything of it at first. I just felt a warm flutter in my chest, imagining he had come home early to see me, too. The moment I stepped out of my car, that warm feeling disappeared. The curtains were partly open. Soft, warm light spilled out, much softer than the lights he usually turned on. Almost romantic. Something felt off. I didn't know what. I couldn't even explain it to myself. But my hands trembled slightly as I approached the door. I remember pausing on the front step, just long enough to hear the sound. A laugh. A woman's laugh. Faint, gentle, familiar in the worst possible way. My key slipped from my fingers. It hit the ground with a tiny sharp clink that echoed far too loud in the quiet hallway. I froze. The laugh came again, followed by his voice. Soft. Warm. The voice he only used with me when we first met. My breath broke in my chest. I pushed the door open slowly. It wasn't locked, something he always lectured me about, so it swung open without resistance. What I saw inside will never leave me. Our living room glowed with dim light. The same light we used on anniversaries and late-night movie dates. He stood there, holding her against him like she belonged there. Her head rested on his shoulder. His hand caressed her back slowly, tenderly, intimately. She whispered something I couldn't hear. He smiled, a smile that once felt like home. My vision blurred, but I didn't cry. Not then. I clung to the doorway, feeling the world tilt under my feet. My heart didn't shatter dramatically. It just stopped feeling like mine. He kissed her, softly, slowly, like kissing her was familiar, like it had happened many, many times before. I didn't move. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the door open and demand answers. I simply stood there, watching the truth unfold without a single word. My ring felt heavy. My chest felt hollow. My throat felt tight, like I couldn't breathe or swallow, or even exist properly. I stepped back, then another step, and another. Quiet, slow, almost mechanical. I made it to the porch before the first tear finally escaped. Just one. A single tear sliding down my cheek, silent but burning. I wiped it away quickly, almost angrily. Not because it hurt too much, but because it didn't hurt the way I expected. The pain wasn't loud. It wasn't chaotic. It was cold, empty, sharp. The kind of pain that doesn't fade. I walked away from the house without making a sound, without slamming the door, without letting them know I was ever there. He didn't hear me. He didn't see me. He didn't even sense the destruction happening a few steps away. But I saw everything. Everything I needed to see. I reached my car and leaned against the door, feeling the night air hit my skin. It didn't soothe me. It didn't numb me. It only made the truth clearer. My marriage had been dying long before I walked through that door. I just didn't want to see it, but now I had. Now I couldn't unsee it. Love died in that living room. And in its place, something else started to grow. Something colder. Something patient. Something sharper than heartbreak. Revenge doesn't need noise. It needs silence. Time. Stillness. And I suddenly had all of those. I got into my car with steady hands. My heart wasn't steady, but my purpose was. He didn't know I came home early. He didn't know I saw everything, but he would. One day. And when that day came, he would finally understand what it feels like to lose everything. People always ask, "Didn't you see the signs?" And the truth is no, I didn't. Or maybe I did, but I was too in love to understand what they meant. Before everything shattered, my life felt stable, predictable, safe. I used to think that safety was happiness. But now, looking back, I realize it was just routine dressed up as love. Let me tell you about him, about us, before the betrayal became the whole story. His name was Daniel. Everyone called him Dan. He was the kind of man people instantly trusted. Calm voice. Warm smile. The type who held doors open and remembered birthdays and carried heavy boxes for old neighbors without expecting a thank you. I met him at a local community event. Not a romantic place at all, just a boring weekend cleanup organized by the town. I didn't even want to go. My sister dragged me there, saying I needed fresh air and fresh people. She wasn't wrong. He was handing out gloves and garbage bags when I walked up. He smiled at me like he already knew my name. I remember being flustered, not because he was handsome, but because he felt familiar somehow, even though we had never spoken. "Gloves?" he asked. His voice was warm, soft, steady. I nodded, and he gave me a pair with a grin that made my stomach flip in a way I couldn't explain. That day, we picked up trash and talked like we'd known each other for years. He made me laugh, real, loud laughs I hadn't heard from my own mouth in a long time. By the end, he asked if I wanted coffee. I said yes. Of course I said yes. One coffee turned into dinner. Then movie nights. Then weekends together. Then his toothbrush in my bathroom. Then his clothes folded next to mine. Then a surprise proposal under a warm summer sky. Everything with him felt easy. Effortless. Like I had finally found the place I belonged. I grew up in a home where my parents didn't talk much. They argued in silence, with closed doors and heavy sighs. Love in my childhood always looked tired. So when Dan came into my life with his flowers and spontaneous kisses and I love yous, I thought I had finally escaped that kind of love. He made promises. Simple ones, but strong. I'll protect you. I'll never lie to you. You're my forever. I believed every word. Our wedding wasn't huge. Just family and close friends. We rented a small hall with fairy lights and soft music. I wore the simplest dress I could find, and he cried when he saw me walking down the aisle. Full tears. Not the fake kind. Sometimes I wonder if that moment was real, or if he was already good at pretending back then. After we married, life settled into a quiet routine. He worked long hours. I worked early shifts. We passed each other in hallways with tired smiles and quick kisses. But we were happy. Or at least I thought we were. People like to say you just know when something's wrong. You feel it in your bones. Your instincts scream at you. Mine didn't. Mine were silent. Because he still held my hand. He still said good morning, sweetheart, with sleepy eyes and messy hair. He still texted me when he got home, asking if I needed anything from the store. He still laughed at my terrible jokes and told me dinner tasted amazing even when I burned it. He played the part perfectly. And I played mine. Trusting wife, loyal partner, believer in us. I wanted to build a family with him. We talked about children sometimes, just quietly, in passing moments. Like when we walked past the baby section in a department store, or when he saw a father carrying his daughter on his shoulders. Someday, he'd whisper, squeezing my hand, and I'd smile, imagining the future he painted in my mind. Our home wasn't luxurious, but it was ours. A cozy townhouse with creaky floors and a kitchen too small for both of us to cook in at the same time. We filled it with little pieces of love, photos on the fridge, silly notes on sticky pads, blankets we fought over during movie marathons. Looking back, it's strange how something can feel so real and so fake at the same time. But back then, nothing felt fake to me. Not even for a second. To me, he was the man I trusted more than anyone. The man I chose. The man I believed would choose me back. Every single day. Maybe that's why the pain felt so cold when it finally came. Because betrayal cuts deepest when it's wrapped in warmth. Because heartbreak hurts most when you thought you were safe. Before everything shattered, I thought my life was normal. Stable. Good. I didn't know that cracks were already forming. I didn't see that our conversations were growing shorter. That his late nights were becoming more frequent. That he flinched when I asked simple questions like, "What time will you be home?" I didn't notice the small changes, the ones that scream the loudest in hindsight. Like how he started taking his phone with him everywhere, even to the bathroom. Or how he suddenly cared more about his appearance. Or how he smiled at his screen more than he smiled at me. I thought he was stressed, tired, overworked. I didn't think he was betraying me. Because people like him, people who hold your hand and call you their world, aren't supposed to lie. Aren't supposed to love someone else behind your back. Aren't supposed to break the person they promised to protect. But he did. And I didn't see it coming. Not even when the world was about to change in one quiet, devastating moment. That moment when I came home early, and everything I thought I knew fell apart. I used to think betrayal came suddenly like a lightning strike. But for me, it arrived quietly. Soft footsteps. Small changes. Barely noticeable until they were impossible to ignore. There were only a few signs. Just 3 moments. 3 moments that should have warned me but didn't. Because I loved him too much to imagine he would ever hurt me. It was a Tuesday night. I had cooked his favorite meal, slow-cooked stew, the one he always said tasted like home. He promised he'd be back by 7. But he didn't walk through the door until after 10. His hair was messy, his shirt wrinkled. He smelled like the outside, fresh air mixed with something floral. Not my perfume, not anything familiar. I remember asking gently, "Did you have a long day?" He avoided my eyes. Yet something came up. Something. Someone. I didn't know then. He barely touched his dinner. Said he wasn't hungry, then showered and went straight to bed, leaving me alone at the table. A quiet ache settled in my chest that night. I didn't know why, but it stayed. He never locked his phone before. Not once. He used to hand it to me without thinking, ask me to reply to messages, look up directions. But one evening, he left his phone on the couch and went to get something from the car. I picked it up to move it aside, and the screen asked for a code. A code I didn't know. I froze. I stared at those digits like they were a wall between us, one he built quietly, without warning. When he came back and saw the phone in my hand, he grabbed it a little too fast. I laughed awkwardly. "Since when do you lock your phone?" He shrugged. "Work changed the security policy." I nodded, but my stomach tightened. A small twist of unease. Just enough to make me wonder, but not enough to make me suspect the truth. It happened the day before everything shattered. He came home looking different. Lighter. like he'd been somewhere that made him feel alive. Somewhere that wasn't here.
With someone who wasn't me.
He was humming. Actually humming. I watched him take off his jacket, smiling at himself like he carried a secret that made him glow. "Good day?" I asked softly.
He paused.
Too long. Then forced a smile. Just tired. But his eyes said something else. His eyes were somewhere else. Somewhere I couldn't reach. That night, he fell asleep instantly. And I lay awake for hours watching him breathe, trying to convince myself that everything was fine. But the dread in my chest wouldn't leave. It sat there, heavy and cold. A quiet warning. The next day, I came home early. A simple twist of timing that changed my life forever. I walked into the house expecting silence. Instead, I heard laughter.
Soft. Warm.
A woman's laugh. I knew instantly.
Before I saw anything.
Before I walked into the living room. Before the world dropped out from under me. Some betrayals don't need explanation. Your heart knows before your mind even catches up. I stepped into the doorway. There he was. My husband. My best friend. My future. Holding another woman in his arms. Her hands were around his neck. His forehead pressed to hers. Their bodies close. Too close.
Familiar.
He brushed a strand of her hair behind her ear, smiling like she was his whole world. The world I thought belonged to me. I didn't say a word.
Didn't gasp.
Didn't cry. My heart just cracked. A soft, internal sound only I could hear. I backed away before they noticed me. Walked out the door on shaking legs. The air outside hit me like ice. My vision blurred. My chest tightened. Something inside me collapsed so completely I had to grab the car door to stay upright. I slid into the driver's seat and closed the door, and that's when it all hit me. Everything. All at once. I broke. Truly broke. My hands shook uncontrollably. My breath came in short, sharp gasps. Tears poured down without permission. It felt like drowning. Like someone had tied weights to my heart and dropped it into a dark ocean. I rested my forehead on the steering wheel and sobbed. Deep, raw sobs I didn't know were inside me. Images flashed through my mind like a cruel slideshow. Our wedding. The vows. The late-night talks. The dinners I cooked. The laughs we shared. The dreams we built. His promises. His hands on her. His smile, her smile. Every memory twisted into something painful. Every moment replayed with a new, ugly meaning. I felt stupid.
Used.
Unwanted.
Small.
Invisible. I felt like the world had tilted and I was the only one falling. I sat there for almost an hour.
Crying.
Breathing. Breaking. Trying to piece myself together and failing. The hardest part wasn't seeing them together. The hardest part was realizing he had stopped choosing me long before that moment. That he found comfort in someone else while I was still choosing him every single day. I wiped my face, though the tears didn't really stop. And in the rearview mirror, I saw myself, red eyes, shaking lips, a woman who had just lost everything she believed in. But I also saw something else. A flicker.
Small.
Fragile. But there. A spark of something colder than pain. The beginning of something I wasn't ready to understand yet. Not strength. Not yet. Something quieter. Something sharper. Something that grows only in the ruins of trust. I didn't go back home that night. I couldn't. The image of them, his hands on her, their foreheads touching, kept replaying in my mind like a cruel loop. So I drove. Nowhere in particular. Just away. The world outside the car was dark, blurry from tears. Yet somehow, I still followed the road like my body was running on instinct while everything else inside me shut down. I ended up parked by the lake. The same lake where he once told me he loved me for the first time. Where he kissed my forehead and said, "Whatever happens, we'll always choose each other." I laughed bitterly in the dark. The sound hurt. I sat there, staring at my own reflection in the black water. It looked nothing like me. It looked like someone emptied out. The shock wore off slowly, like thawing ice. And then the pain came, hot and wild. It hit me so hard my whole body shook. I cried until my throat burned, until my head throbbed, until I felt like there was nothing left to cry out of me. There's a kind of grief that isn't loud. It's the kind that settles in your bones and makes you heavy. I felt that. All of it. At once. I curled up in the driver's seat, pulled my knees to my chest, and clutched my own arms just to feel something holding me. I whispered over and over,
Why? Why?
"Why?" But no answer came. Only more pain. When the tears finally stopped, the numbness arrived. A cold, empty silence. I stared out at the lake, but didn't really see anything. My mind felt suspended, like I was hovering above my own life, watching it from the outside. I tried to remember the last time he looked at me the way he looked at her. I couldn't, and that hurt even more. I tried to remember the last time he held me, without feeling distracted. I couldn't. I realized I had been losing him for months. Slowly, quietly,
Piece by piece.
but I was too in love to see it. That realization felt like a knife. Not because he stopped loving me, but because I didn't notice. Because I kept choosing him while he was choosing someone else. I don't know how long I stayed there. Maybe 2 hours. Maybe 5. Time felt irrelevant when your whole life suddenly didn't make sense. My phone buzzed once. His name on the screen. I turned it face down and let it go to voicemail. I wasn't ready. I wasn't anything. The thought of going back home made my stomach twist. I felt sick. Physically sick. I imagined walking in and pretending I didn't see what I saw. I imagined confronting him and hearing him lie. I imagined confronting him and hearing him tell the truth. Both versions broke me. I pressed my forehead to the cold window and whispered, "I don't know what to do." And for the first time ever, the silence didn't comfort me. It terrified me. I had always defined myself through us. Through him. Through we. But now there was only me. And I didn't know who that was anymore. At some point, exhaustion took over. Not the kind sleep fixes. The deep, soul-tired heaviness that makes your limbs feel like stone. I closed my eyes and tried to breathe through the ache in my chest. Every inhale hurt. Every exhale felt like losing him all over again. I whispered his name once, out of habit, out of heartbreak, and then stopped myself. Because it wasn't my job to call for someone who threw me away. The truth settled over me like a cold blanket. The man I loved wasn't mine anymore. Maybe he hadn't been for a long time. And that was the moment I finally broke all the way through. A quiet, shattering collapse inside me. A stillness that felt like the bottom of something deep and dark. Rock bottom. The place where grief stops feeling like pain and starts feeling like nothing. When the sun finally rose that morning, I felt different. Not healed. Not strong.
Just done.
The kind of done that doesn't scream or cry. The kind that burns cold and steady. I didn't drive home until the world was fully awake. Not because I feared facing him, but because I wanted the numbness to settle into something useful. By the time I reached our street, I had already made the vow. He would never see me break again. And one day he would break because of me. Not with drama. Not with violence. Not with chaos. I would destroy him slowly. Patiently. Exactly the way he destroyed me. Without ever raising my voice. without ever letting him see the storm he created. When I walked through the door, he was standing in the hallway, still in his pajamas, eyes tired, voice tentative. "Where were you?" I tried calling. I didn't look at him. I didn't give him the satisfaction of seeing pain on my face. I went out, I said simply, walking past him. That was it.
No explanation. No emotion.
His eyebrows pulled together, confused. He wasn't used to this version of me, the quiet one, the unreadable one. But I kept moving. I showered. I changed. I made coffee. He hovered behind me for a moment. Then he said, "Are you okay?"
Fine.
A simple lie, delivered with a steady voice. He didn't know what to do with it. The next few days blurred together, but each one carried the same pattern. He asked questions. I answered with one word. He tried to make small talk. I let the silence swallow it whole. He attempted affection, light touches on my shoulder, a kiss on the cheek. I stepped aside casually, as if I didn't notice. I wasn't cruel. I wasn't dramatic. I just became someone he couldn't read. Inside, though, I was constantly thinking, observing, planning. Every lie he ever told me, every shift in his schedule, every unexplained late night. I pieced it all together like a puzzle I should have solved long ago. And with every piece, my resolve hardened. He had made a fool of me in my own home. Now I would make him question everything he thought he controlled. My revenge wouldn't be a single explosive moment. It would be a series of quiet cuts.
Small. Precise. Deadly.
One evening, while I sat on the couch with my laptop, pretending to work, he sat across from me. He watched me too long before speaking. "You feel far away lately." I didn't look up.
I'm tired.
He hesitated. Did I do something? My fingers paused on the keyboard, only for a second, before continuing.
No.
Another lie.
Smooth.
Effortless. He let out a breath. The kind people release when they're worried, but trying not to show it. He had no idea what I had seen, what I knew, what I was planning. And I wasn't going to tell him. Not yet. Not until the timing was perfect. I stopped waiting for him at dinner. I stopped messaging him during the day. I stopped asking where he was going or when he'd be home. I stopped caring out loud. Instead, I focused on myself, my routines, my schedule,
My space.
and every hour I spent ignoring him, I spent planning. I researched things. I watched. I gathered quiet facts. I noticed his tells. The way his phone suddenly faced down again. The way he stepped outside for certain calls. The way he used a different cologne on certain days. I could have confronted him. I could have screamed. I could have demanded explanations. But confrontation gives power. Silence takes it away. And I wanted all of it. One night, he came into the bedroom while I sat by the window. The room was dim. The air felt thick. He stood there watching me before he spoke. "You're scaring me," he said quietly.
Good.
He should be scared. I turned my head slightly, just enough to meet his eyes. "I'm fine," I said again, expression blank. But I saw it then. The flicker of fear, the tightening of his jaw, the uncertainty in his posture. He didn't know what was wrong, but he knew something was, and he could feel it growing. What he didn't know was this. I had already chosen my path. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I wasn't going to plead or beg, or try to fix something he willingly broke. He didn't deserve my sadness. He deserved consequences. Real ones. He deserved to lose everything he took for granted.
Piece by piece.
The same way he took pieces of me without ever noticing. So I stayed quiet, colder each day, more distant each night, because revenge doesn't rush. Revenge waits. Revenge listens. Revenge gathers every detail. And I was listening now. I was watching now. I was learning now. He taught me how to stop trusting. Now I would teach him how it feels when the woman he underestimated becomes the woman who ruins him.
Silently.
Beautifully. Completely. Revenge isn't one moment. It's a buildup, a tension, a slow tightening of invisible strings. I didn't want to explode. I wanted him to unravel. So I started with something simple. I took back my life.
And he noticed.
It started subtly. I woke before him. I made breakfast only for myself. I left the house without saying goodbye. I came home later than him. I slept facing the opposite side of the bed. Every day, one more piece of me slipped quietly out of his reach. He hated it. He wasn't used to being ignored. He wasn't used to being an afterthought. He wasn't used to me not caring. One evening he waited by the door when I came in. Hands in his pockets. Jaw tight. You didn't answer any of my calls today. I was busy. I called 9 times. I know. The way his face fell, just a little, felt like the softest crack in a frozen lake. Small, but deep. I watched him in the kitchen one morning as he tried to start a conversation. You want coffee? He asked.
No.
You're upset with me. I'm not upset. He waited, expecting more. He didn't get it. I walked away. He stood there staring at the empty doorway I left behind, confused. That confusion was good. It meant he felt the ground shift under him. He had no idea I already knew about her. No idea I had watched his betrayal with my own eyes. His guilt had no target yet. And guilt without direction is poison. I let him drink it slowly. One night, he came home early. Earlier than usual. He found me on the couch, laptop open, a small stack of folders beside me. What's all this? He asked. Work. You've been different. For weeks. I have a lot going on. He sat next to me. I moved slightly away, not dramatically, just enough for him to feel it. He noticed. Talk to me, he said softly. I kept typing.
I'm Buse.
He reached for my hand. I didn't pull away. I simply let it sit there like a dead weight. He felt the absence in me. He felt the cold. He withdrew slowly, unsure. Did I do something wrong? He whispered.
Yes.
You destroyed us. But I didn't say it. Instead, I looked up and said calmly,
No.
You didn't. That lie hit him harder than the truth would have. He swallowed hard, eyes darting across my face, searching for something he no longer had access to. Here's the thing about cheaters. They only fear 2 things: being caught and losing control. I decided to give him both. I changed my routine completely. I went out at night without explaining where. I dressed better. I wore perfume I hadn't used in years. I smiled at my phone sometimes, even though no one was texting me. I let him imagine. I let him worry. I let him spiral. One night, he finally broke. Are you seeing someone? He asked, voice tight and shaking. I didn't look up from my book. Why would you ask that? Because you're different. I'm allowed to be different. His jaw tightened. He hated every second of this. Are you? He repeated, voice cracking slightly. I turned the page slowly. If I were, I said, do you think you'd have the right to be upset? He froze. Color drained from his face.
His mouth opened, then closed.
He didn't know how to respond. He didn't know what I knew. He didn't know what I'd seen. But he knew this. I had slipped out of his hands, and he couldn't pull me back. After a long, silent moment, he whispered, This isn't like you. I finally looked at him. You don't know me as well as you think. That was my first strike.
Small, precise, deadly.
He thought he had lost me. And for the first time since I saw him with her, I felt a flicker of power return to my chest. The next day, he stayed home from work. He hovered around me, following me from room to room, trying to read me. "You sure everything is okay?" he asked at least 5 times. "Yes." "You're not mad?
No.
You're not pulling away from me?" "I'm right here." But I wasn't. Not really. Every word I spoke was measured. Every glance controlled. Every silence sharp. By evening, he looked exhausted, defeated, unsteady, exactly where I wanted him. He said quietly, "I feel like I'm losing you." I held his gaze just long enough for it to hurt. "Maybe you should think about why you feel that way." He blinked slowly.
Confused.
Afraid. And that fear, that sinking realization, it was only the beginning. Because breaking him wouldn't require shouting or fighting. Just silence, distance, and truth delivered at the perfect moment. And that moment was coming soon. Very soon. After weeks of silence, I finally decided to make my first real move. Not out of anger, not out of hate, but because truth deserves daylight, and because I wanted them both to feel the weight of what they had done. I started early in the morning, while he slept beside me. His phone buzzed once, lighting up the room. Her name, his coworker, his lover. I didn't touch the phone. I didn't need to. I already knew enough. But I needed something else. Proof for someone who deserved to know. So I opened my laptop and typed her name. It didn't take long. She had an open social media account. Pictures of vacations. Pictures of family dinners. And the biggest discovery of all, she was married. Not just recently. For 6 years. Her husband looked like the kind of man who adored her. Photos of him cooking for her, traveling with her, holding her hand in every picture. And she was betraying him the same way my husband betrayed me. The coldness inside me hardened into something sharp. I downloaded everything I needed. Timestamps, photos, screenshots I had taken quietly, dates that matched my husband's late nights. I placed them neatly into a folder. And I wrote a single line. "I think you deserve the truth." Then I sent it to her husband. No drama.
No threats.
Just the truth. 2 hours later, my husband came downstairs, rubbing his eyes. "You're up early," he said. "Yeah," I replied calmly. He sensed nothing. He kissed my cheek. I let him. Inside, I felt nothing. He left for work like it was any normal day. It was not. Her husband must have read my message immediately, because by late morning, the storm hit his office. I wasn't there, but multiple people later told me the same story. Her husband walked into the building with the printed photos in his hand. He went straight to the front desk, asking for her. Employees noticed the tension instantly. One of them tried to calm him down, but he pushed past and found her in a hallway. She froze the moment she saw the papers. She knew. She knew exactly what they were. Then he yelled, not violently, but painfully, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "How long have you been cheating on me?" People stopped working. Doors opened. Heads turned. And then my husband walked into the hallway. Everything fell silent. Her husband threw the photos at the two of them. They scattered across the floor. Him holding her in our living room, them together behind his office door. Their messages. My husband's face drained of color. Security rushed in. People recorded on their phones. Someone called HR. Someone called the police. It turned into chaos. Shouting, pushing, panic. Not a bloody fight, not violence, but a heated, emotional explosion between two betrayed men. By the time police arrived, both of them were shaken and bruised from the struggle to separate them. They were taken to the hospital for evaluation. Her husband, and my husband. Around 1 p.m., my phone rang. His mother.
Her voice was shaking.
Please, can you come? He's in the hospital. I didn't ask questions. I didn't react. I just said, I'll be there. Not because I loved him anymore, but because I needed to see the consequences finally reach him. When I arrived, the waiting room was crowded. His parents were there. Her parents were there. A couple of her coworkers. A police officer. And her, sitting with her hands over her face, trembling. Everyone looked up when I walked in. My husband was on a bed, sitting upright, a bruise on his cheek. He looked at me like I was the only solid thing in the room he could hold on to. You came, he whispered. I didn't answer. A police officer stepped toward me. Ma'am, are you his wife? Yes. He nodded. There was an incident at his workplace. We're gathering statements. It appears a confrontation occurred related to an extramarital situation. Her husband, sitting nearby with an ice pack on his arm, said loudly, "They've been having an affair. That's why I confronted them. Check the evidence." Everyone turned to look at my husband, including his parents, including her parents. The room fell into a heavy silence. My husband swallowed hard. He looked at me, pleading, breaking, terrified. You knew, he whispered.
Soft. Desperate.
I held his gaze and said quietly, I knew before you even realized you lost me. His mother gasped. His father looked away in shame. Her parents stared at their daughter in disbelief. The entire room buzzed with whispers. And for the first time, the truth was louder than their lies. I stood in the hospital room, looking at him. The man I loved. The man who destroyed everything we built. His face was bruised.
Pale.
Eyes wide with fear and disbelief. His parents were behind him, holding each other. Sadness, anger, disappointment etched into their faces. Tears streamed down their cheeks. They had watched their son betray not only me, but the trust they had in him. I took a deep breath. The air felt heavy, but freeing at the same time. And I spoke. You had a choice, I said, my voice calm, steady. Every day, every moment. And you chose her. You chose lies. You chose selfishness. You chose to destroy the life we promised each other. Do you know what that feels like? To see the person you trusted, the person you loved, holding someone else? To hear the laughs you thought were yours, now shared with someone else? To realize every word, every promise, every dream was meaningless to them. I paused. Their eyes were on me. His parents' hands clenched together. Her parents sobbed quietly. And he looked like a child caught in the rain, shivering, helpless. You thought I would forgive. You thought I would beg.
You thought I would stay.
But I am not the woman you broke. I am not the woman you could ever control. I am not yours anymore. I reached into my bag, pulled out the papers I had prepared weeks ago. Divorce papers. I held them in front of him. His eyes widened. His mouth opened, but no sound came. Sign them. Or don't. It doesn't matter. Because I am leaving. And when I walk out that door, you will realize exactly what you lost. I tossed the papers gently onto his chest. They landed like cold stones. The silence hit him harder than my words ever could. The divorce papers were final, concrete, unforgiving. He didn't move. He couldn't. He was trapped in the weight of his own choices. I turned to leave. His mother gasped. His father reached for me. I looked back once. Goodbye, I said softly. And I walked out. Every step I took was freeing. Every breath I drew felt like I was shedding years of pain. I didn't look back again. He stayed in the hospital for a few days, bruised not just in body but in spirit. His coworkers avoided him. Whispers followed him wherever he went. The woman he had betrayed was gone from his life forever. Her husband filed for separation, and her affair became a permanent fracture in their marriage. Consequences. Real consequences. Meanwhile, I focused on myself. The divorce process was final. The papers signed. The house that held so many memories, so many lies, I sold it. I kept the memories I wanted and let the rest go. I moved to a small apartment, painted the walls white, planted flowers on the balcony, bought a journal, and wrote every morning. I traveled. I worked. I laughed again. I cried sometimes, but differently now, without betrayal cutting through it. I became someone I had almost forgotten I could be. Strong. Independent. Alive. Some nights, I still think of him, but the thoughts are distant. Muted. They don't hurt anymore. Because I left the darkness behind. Because I learned that love doesn't belong to someone who betrays it. Because I realized my own heart is enough. I sold the house. I sold the past. And I bought myself a future. One where I am free. One where I am whole. One where I am finally, completely me.